Hi, this is Damien from AtHope, and I am an axiological atheist. And I just wanted to address really quick ideas from my hammer of truth. So hammer of truth to me is three types of philosophy that are used in a sequence of questions and a way of thinking. So the first thing is that when something is offered to you, what my hammer of truth does is wants to know the ontology, or the thingness of things. And this relates actually to a simple idea, really, is when someone offers you something, your first thought to be, what are you talking about? And that's the ontology. You want to properly know what they're stating and what it means to them, not to you. Because let's say that I say that I believe in a God. Well, do you know what kind of God? Do you know which way I believe in God? Do you know which books or ideas or other elements relate to this so-called term God that I'm using? So the problem to me of most thinkers is we assume too much. We think we already know, and then we start running into this, in a sense, in philosophy, you have to think about it, that in a sense we straw man a lot of people's ideas. Instead of actually first clarifying, and this also to me is an important thing. Let's just say that we're not totally straw manning them, but we haven't made them own what they're saying. And thus it's hard then later to come back and go, well, you said A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And they'll go, oh, no, I said actually, F, T, J, K. And we've actually allowed them the opportunity to backpedal. But if we first get a proper ontology, what they're talking about, and make them own it. So you mean God in this way, and God from this book, and God in this thing? And then we're able to in a sense, use that as our tools to build the argument against them. And like I said, this is, to me, just a simple logic that when something is offered to you, don't assume. So if I say I believe in God, you need to say, well, what's a God? Don't start with, you already know the term God. I don't know what they're talking about. You want to clarify these things. This is really important. That's why, to me, the hammer of truth, it's not like once you start it that you always finish it. There's many times people will keep having me, to use the beginning, because they'll offer something new. In other words, like if I said to someone, they said they believe in God, and I say, what do you mean by God? And they say, well, I mean a spirit. I don't get to keep going on my hammer of truth. I got to start back at number one. What do you mean by a spirit? Well, a spirit is an entity that's existing outside of space and time. I don't know what that means. What do you mean by that? Well, it means, so the whole point is you keep going back to, in a sense, the ontology, the thingness of a thing. You have got to get this. And it really helps you in argumentation anyways. Like I said, you're basically building the coffin you're going to bury their idea in. And so the next thing is the epistemology. And the epistemology basically comes into the fact that how do they know what they've just claimed the ontology is? And so they've said God is A, B, C, D, whatever. And you got a coherent definition that's in a sense limited. You always want to get a limited thing. You don't want a universal thing. I said, well, everyone knows what God is. That's not an answer. And say, well, God to my parents. I don't know your parents. Well, God in the Christian faith. Which Christian faith? There's like 1,000 denominations. I don't assume anything. And properly, if you want to totally, take down someone's ideas with them, see, I don't try to do it against them. In other words, I don't try to do the work for them. I mean, if we do that, I can already not believe, because I can already have a whole bunch of reasons why I don't believe. But I don't need to figure out why I don't believe. What I need to do is figure out to help them to figure out why they shouldn't believe. And so to me, this is an important thing. It's too easy for us to go, because like me, I know a lot of archeology, I know a lot of anthropology, I know a lot of the history of the Bible and other faiths, and logic and thinking, but that doesn't mean the person that you're talking to knows any of that. I don't assume. I don't assume they know anything. And so I also don't assume that I know what they're talking about. So once you get the ontology, then you get the how do they know that, the epistemology. So the epistemology, though, still to me is not a finite end. It's the understanding that they're required to offer an explanation for the ontology. But even once they do, let's just say they offer us their explanation of why. Well, because I used the Bible. And then we, of course, we have to go back to, again, the ontology. What do you mean by the Bible? Which version are you talking about? You know, and then they'll say, well, this verse. Well, 10 Christians could read that same verse and not come to that same conclusion. Or what if it's not a Christian that's reading it? What if it's a person that says that they, loosely believe in the Bible? You need to clarify these things, because if you get running into debunking something that they don't believe, then you haven't actually debunked or helped debunk what they're talking about. But let's say they actually achieve both things. They've told you what they're talking about, the ontology, how they know that, the epistemology. You still have another tool in my hammer of truth, which was the axiology, the value judging of what you've just been offered. And to me, this is important, that I think people run over this too quickly. They assume too much even with the axiology. In other words, when someone says something is true, and then we just go, oh, it's false. But that's not actually how you debunk an idea. We need to say why it doesn't make sense axiologically, why what you offered is not worthy, it's not reliable, it's not accurate. These are the ways that you help people see for themselves. Because in a sense, to me, my goal is not to tell people they're wrong, it's to help them understand that they're wrong for themselves. I know that once we open the door of reason, it's reason that does the work for us. If you're doing all the work debunking the thing, then you're doing too much. You need to actually be an active participant. That's why in my style I call it truth navigation. As my main thing, that the hammer of truth, my one technique is under. Because to me, I think that if you help people navigate what is true, what can be true, what can't be known, what is known, this is something that truly helps them to reason. Once you help someone to reason, it's reason, not you, that helps them to remove faith. Thank you.